every other country in the world, economy is subservient to politics. And in Iran, the political system is rotten to the core. It is deeply corrupt. It is deeply inefficient. It allows and qualifies people to posts to important government posts and managerial posts, not because of their qualification, not because of their background or capabilities, because of how many times they pray and because of how loyal they are to the supreme leader.
And far from dwindling, the protests in Iran have grown and grown over the last week, grown in their numbers, in their geographical spread across that vast country, and indeed in their fury. Some of those protesters have been killed by the security forces, but there has not so far been the outright bloodshed which many had feared. Indeed, there is now evidence that members of the armed forces are disobeying their orders and refusing to fire on demonstrators. The threat to Iran's totalitarian Islamic leadership is acute. It is perhaps the closest a regime has come to being toppled since the Islamic Revolution of 1979. Joining me is Meir Javendanfar, an Iranian-born Middle East commentator who lives and works from Israel. Meir, thanks so much for joining us. Do the protests feel different this time in Iran?
They do, because now they have a leader, and that leader is the son of the deposed Shah Reza Pahlavi, and these protests are regarding an issue that reaches every Iranian family, and that is the question. That is inflation. Food inflation, for example, reaches 60 or 70%. Housing inflation reaches 84%. Rod, you know what they say about inflation? It's an invisible tax. Now imagine the regime charges the people of Iran tax already, and then on top of that, they have to pay 50 or 60% annually on these essential expenses that they have, and they simply cannot do it. It has become an issue that has brought the people of Iran. It is a cause that is uniting the people of Iran, of almost every ethnicity, religion, and geographical location, because inflation has reached and affected every Iranian household.
So it seems to be a protest which has its roots in a pragmatic objection to being forced into penury. But is there also an ideological side to it as well, in the way that there has been before?
You see, Rod, the country is so badly managed that when people start a protest that is not political, for example, like this one, or there was another one in late 2017, if I'm not mistaken, that was also about the cost, increasing the cost of the petrol in Iran. Even if it starts with a non-political issue, very soon it turns political, and sooner and after that it turns into calls for the removal or the death of the supreme leader. Because the people of Iran realized that in the political economy of Iran, just like in the political economy of almost every other country in the world, economy is subservient to politics. And in Iran, the political system is rotten to the core. It is deeply corrupt. It is deeply inefficient. It allows and qualifies people to posts to important government posts and managerial posts, not because of their qualification, not because of their background or capabilities, because of how many times they pray and because of how loyal they are to the supreme leader. And they have lost faith in the regime. They see it not only as incompetent, but as abusive. And this is what really worries everybody. The regime has cut the internet off for the last 2 days. We don't know what is happening in Iran. Iran could be on the cusp of a new revolution or one of the biggest massacres in its recent history. The little reports that are coming out from Iran since last night speak of large number of casualties. So the people of Iran want regime change in their own country, because the leadership has failed time and again to respect their very basic needs and also to make one of the richest countries in the Middle East livable. People can't live in that country anymore, Rod. You have water shortages, you have electricity shortages, you have pollution problems. They close Tehran 2 or 3 times a week because the air is so bad. So people turn into calls for the removal of the supreme leader.
And should Donald Trump intervene, should the Iranian leadership become really heavy-handed?
This issue is already becoming a geopolitical issue in that there are countries in this region who don't want the Islamic Republic to fall. Turkey is one of them. The Turkish foreign minister today was saying that he hopes that the people of Iran will moderate their response to the Islamic Republic. Why? Because they're deeply worried about a new regime coming to Iran and establishing diplomatic relations with Israel. This is deeply worrying the Turks. This is, I think, deeply worrying the Qataris. At the same time, President Trump has promised he will support the people of Iran. The best thing he can do is to provide free internet access to the people of Iran, to Starlink, so that they can share the story of what is happening inside the country. Because the regime has cut off the internet. That is the equivalent of an abusive husband or father shutting off the windows to his house, closing all the doors, because he's about to severely physically abuse his family. This is what the regime is doing with closing off the internet. The people of Iran, at the very least, need free access to the internet to tell their story. And I think getting Starlink to provide free access to the internet access to the people of Iran would go a long way.
Thank you indeed. Meir Javendanfar, Iranian-born Israeli Middle East commentator. Very, very good to have you on the programme.
There's been protesters killed in Iran. You said we were locked and loaded, ready to go. What is the line there for when the U.S. is going to get involved in those protests?
We'll take a look. We're watching it very closely. If they start killing people like they have in the past, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the United States.
Is that border without the threat of tariffs? I don't think we'd have a European trade deal.
مشهد پنجشنبه